welcome back. Today I'll be looking at Ocarina of Time. This story establishes Link as the hero of time as he fights across time to save Princess Zelda from Ganondorf. This is also the first time chronologically that Ganondorf appears in the Zelda series. It is also the game that causes the split in the timeline, creating the downfall, child, and adult timelines. When looking at the Ocarina of Time map, most areas of the map line up well with their Breath of the Wild counterparts. There are three problems with the map that need to be addressed: the size and location of Lon Lon Ranch, the location of the Gerudo Valley and the Desert Colossus, and the location of Hyrule Castle and Castle Town. I believe these can be explained by the artistic depiction of Lon Lon Ranch and the Gerudo Valley and Desert Colossus. Also, the Great Plateau is the remains of old Hyrule Castle and Town, but was moved to its current location. First, I will look at the Great Plateau and identify the key features that align it with old Hyrule Castle and the old Castle Town. In Breath of the Wild, there is the Temple of Time, located here. Next is the fountain that likely marked the center of town near the Breath of the Wild Temple of Time. Then there is an archway that is adjacent to the Temple of Time and just outside of town. Finally, there is the Eastern Abbey that isn't too far from the Breath of the Wild Temple of Time, the fountain, and the archway. Now, when comparing these structures to Ocarina of Time, they each have a corresponding structure associated with them. The Ocarina of Time Temple of Time is close to the location of the Breath of the Wild Temple of Time, likely situated a little north of the Breath of the Wild Temple location. Next, you have the Ocarina of Time Castle Town with a fountain in the center near the temple. There's a gated arch near the same location of the archway seen in Breath of the Wild, likely the same or a refurbished arch that was a gate for the Eastern Abbey in Breath of the Wild. Finally, the old Hyrule Castle is the same location as the Eastern Abbey, based on the location of the previous three structures and distance. It is reasonable to assume the Eastern Abbey is the ruins of the old Hyrule Castle. Now, the only problem with the Great Plateau, after identifying the locations of Ocarina of Time structures and comparing them to their Breath of the Wild counterparts, is the orientation of the location. The Eastern Abbey should be in the north and all other structures should be south of the Abbey. So, to fix this issue, I had to do something I said I would not do. I have to rotate the Great Plateau. Now the Abbey is in the north with all the other structures to the south. The next question is where to place the Great Plateau with a northern situated Abbey. When looking at the Ocarina of Time map, Death Mountain needs to be adjacent to the town and castle. The only location that is similar is the location of the Lost Woods in Breath of the Wild. So, the Great Plateau in yellow and the Lost Woods in pink will be swapped. In this map, I have switched the locations of the rotated Great Plateau and the Lost Woods. I have placed the Lost Woods here as a generic placeholder and is not the location of the Ocarina of Time Lost Woods. With the Great Plateau rotated and placed in the north, the Ocarina of Time map can begin to take shape. Hyrule Castle and Castle Town will now be placed in the north over the rotated Great Plateau and become the anchor for the Ocarina of Time map in Breath of the Wild. Hyrule Field of Ocarina of Time will take up the majority of the central part of Hyrule Field in Breath of the Wild. There's a small issue with the depiction of Lon Lon Ranch in this map. The ranch is shown to be a large area in the middle of the field. When looking at Breath of the Wild, there is a ranch ruins location that resembles Lon Lon Ranch. This can be attributed to the fact that Lon Lon Ranch played a significant role in Ocarina of Time and was depicted larger than it would have been in a true map, vice an artistic map. Death Mountain is now just east of Hyrule Castle and Castle Town, which lines up on both maps. Kakariko Village and the graveyard are probably destroyed by the expansion of Death Mountain from a mountain to a caldera. I would put a theory forward that Goron City in Breath of the Wild is located near where Kakariko Village was in Ocarina of Time. Zora's domain would be in the same location in Ocarina of Time and Breath of the Wild, south and east of the castle and south of Death Mountain. It is interesting to see that both maps show the domain as having a raised area that has a lake on the top of this raised area. This feature helps cement the location of Zora's domain in Ocarina of Time, with Breath of the Wild likely being the East Reservoir Lake. The Lost Woods of Ocarina of Time are located in the area of Necluda in Breath of the Wild. Based on it being south of Zora's domain in the Ocarina of Time map and being surrounded by mountainous terrain on all sides except the area that leads to Hyrule Field, which is similar to the Necluda area in Breath of the Wild. Lake Hylia is south and slightly west of the castle and Castle Town in Ocarina of Time, as also depicted in the Breath of the Wild map. There is some small discrepancy with the location of the lake as well as the shape of the lake, but again I put this to artistic depiction of the Ocarina of Time map vice the realistic map of Breath of the Wild. Finally, the Gerudo Valley and the Desert Colossus are located nearly due west of the castle and Castle Town in Ocarina of Time, but in the Breath of the Wild, the desert and Gerudo are in the far southwest. How do I reconcile these locations? Again, I will use the artistic depiction of the Ocarina of Time map as an explanation. This is based on the fact that the Gerudo are the forebearers of Ganondorf, so this area is of great importance in the history of Hyrule at this time. Thus, greater emphasis will be put on the people who spawn the greatest threat to Hyrule by giving more map space to their territory in the Ocarina of Time map. With that theory in mind, and looking at the Breath of the Wild map, I believe the Gerudo Valley is the section of the mountains separating the Gerudo Desert and Hyrule Field near Lake Hylia. This is because of the geography of the region, and because the Regency River flows near this area. This river likely flowed into Lake Hylia before the Great Plateau blocked the flow of the river. This could be the river in Ocarina of Time that if you fell from the Gerudo Valley would lead you into Lake Hylia. The Desert Colossus is also an artistic depiction issue for the same reasons as the Gerudo Valley. However, I think it is located on the south side of the Gerudo Highlands. This is because it is located in the desert and in the side of a mountain, though it is depicted as a single mountain in Ocarina of Time. Also, passing through the Haunted Wasteland and the Sandstorm via flags and a Poe could be similar to the Sandstorm in the Eye of the Sandstorm quest in Breath of the Wild, placing the Colossus in the vicinity of the Dakota Shrine. Based on the information provided, I believe that the Ocarina of Time map fits well within the map of Breath of the Wild, though there are the discrepancies with Lon Lon Ranch and the locations of the Gerudo Valley and Desert Colossus. These are the most likely locations for all regions in the Ocarina of Time map within the Breath of the Wild map. Again, please let me know if there is anything I missed, and thank you for watching. I will be covering Twilight Princess in the next video in this series.